Mr. Speaker, I thank the Chairman. I rise today to speak very well about H.R. 641, the conservation easement tax incentive legislation. I get confused sometimes by the discussion on the floor. So if I understand it, if you do it for a year or 2 years and you don't pay for it, that's good policy, that's good legislation, that's good for America. But if you go beyond that time, that's not good. And this is a piece of legislation that came up in 2006. In fact, my colleague, Mr. Thompson, brought it up. He and Chairman Camp did it. He and Mr. Gerlach, who retired last year, did it. This just makes good sense. And I can tell you something about this. It's not only bipartisan, it's bicameral. It's in the President's budget. So if you're talking about trying to work together to get somewhere, isn't this it? Isn't this it? Sometimes we always try to bend the rules for something else, but this is about conservation. This is about allowing a landowner to set property aside. So I don't care if you're a farmer or a rancher. I don't care if you're a hunter or a hiker. I don't care if you like to look at birds or hunt birds. There's over 65 agencies or associations around the country that say, please do more of this. Set this ground apart. Now, if you're a farmer or a rancher, you can still work that ground. All you're saying is this is a set-aside. This ground can't be developed. We can't lose this ground. This is so basic who we are as Americans. We're saying, let's preserve what we have. Let's just keep what we have. Let's make sure that our kids can hunt and hike and swim. Let's make sure that they can fish. Let's make sure they can do all those wonderful things that this land affords us to do. But then it becomes, gosh, this is about politics. It's not about policy. It's good policy. It's never been paid for. I just don't understand why all of a sudden now, why is it paid for? And I'm only starting my third session here, but my God, you would never do this back home. I wouldn't do this. I'm an automobile dealer. I couldn't do this to a customer and say, yeah, it's okay now, but you know what, later you have to pay me for it. And they say, wait a minute, I thought you gave it to me. No, we're going to take it back. There's millions of acres that have been set aside now. Why not give some permanency to this? We talk about tax reform. Let's give it some permanency. Let's do what makes sense for all of America. Let's talk about preserving America's ground, making sure it doesn't go under development. People can still farm it. They can still ranch on it. It just makes good sense. Just a little bit more.
30 more seconds.
So I'm just, thank you. I'm just asking our friends on the other side, let's think about what's good for the people we represent and not what's just good for the moment. We've always done this in the past. It's only become a problem now because it's not a one-year extender or a two-year extender. Now, all of a sudden, we're saying, well, let's just let people know this is the way it's always going to be from now until all time. But no, that's a bad idea to do that. You don't want to give anybody certainty. You don't want to give anybody permanency. There's no time in my life that I would ever say to my friends, my family, or anybody I'd represent, this is just a temporary thing for me. Tomorrow I may have a change of heart. So I just ask my friends, H.R. 641, Mr. Thompson's on this piece. Let's make sure that we move forward for America. Let's make sure we set ground aside for the future. I thank you and I yield back.
Gentleman yields the